Hello there, I am DM Shyft, an aspiring author, an aspiring published author. I do write, I am a writer. I've decided that I'm going to make a podcast. I used to make YouTube videos and podcasts about learning languages and the things that went along related to that, but I got tired of it, and so I stopped. But I really missed that creative output. Writing does give me a creative output, but I was writing the entire time I was doing the other YouTube stuff and podcast stuff as well. And I really missed having this kind of output. So I decided to get back into that. But nowadays I've decided to take my writing more seriously. I've been writing fiction since elementary school. We used to have to write these, they'd give us blank little books and we have to draw pictures and write stories to put in them. And ever since we had to start doing that in elementary school, I wanted to have an actual book that I wrote that was published that I can hold. And so I've decided that this year I'm moving abroad yet again. Currently I'm living in the fourth country that I've lived in, and I'm going to move to a fifth country next year. And my husband has been talking about how he wants to sort of start over and start working towards having the life that he wants. He's felt like he has to live for a lot of other people. And you know what? That's what I'm going to do as well. I'm going to start working towards the things that I wanted to do. I think that we all, during COVID, really sat down and reevaluated the things that we were doing. And I originally was going to get a PhD in linguistics, or I was going to try to. And I decided I don't want to do that anymore. I want to do the things that I do love linguistics. Do not get me wrong. I love linguistics and I love history and I love a lot of other things. But the thing that's always been there and the thing that I've always done is writing. There's so many good things about it that we'll talk about throughout the course of this podcast probably. And so I've just decided, let's get back to this. Let's do a podcast so I can force myself to actually grow as a writer, grow as a reader, and maybe that will help me. And so even if no one listens to this, it'll still help me being forced to put my thoughts out there in a way that I've thought out. Ugh. You can see I haven't thought this out too well. I have some notes and scripts and stuff for some other things that I want to be recording soon, but this one I sort of wanted to wing. I don't know why. I know that winging things doesn't work for me. I had a YouTube channel, like I said, for years and years and years. I am a little bit sick right now. I am coughing. I'm going to be cutting that out. But if I sound different in a few episodes, it's because, hopefully, I'm not sick anymore. I don't know how it's affecting how my voice sounds right now. I sound mostly fine to myself, but I haven't listened to this recording back yet, so let's talk about what I want this podcast to be. First, I've been trying to figure out how long I want it to be, and I'm thinking somewhere between 15 and 30 minutes depending on what it is that I'm recording. That being said, I don't know if that's what's going to happen. Maybe it will be an hour. Maybe they'll all be 15 minutes. Maybe we'll have 10-minute podcasts. I have a feeling that this first podcast is going to be very different from everything else that I do, but we'll see. As an introduction, there's a lot of things that I could say, but I want to keep it a little bit briefer. So I talked a little bit about myself. I talked a little bit about the goal of this, why I'm doing it. And so let's talk about what I'm going to do. I want to have multiple different types of episodes. The ones that I'm most excited for are book reviews. Whenever I'm scrolling through the internet, every now and then people talk about things that they like, but I just feel like everyone's just shitting on everything constantly. I don't want to do that. I want to talk about good things. I want to talk about things that I like. I'm tired of hearing people talking about things that they don't like. And I know, especially again from doing things in the past, that when you complain about something, people like that video more. I know that if you do, so I did language learning before, the 5 best language learning apps video and the 5 worst language learning apps video. The worst language learning apps video will get so many more views. People want to hear about people complaining. They want to hear about how much things suck. I don't want to do that. I'm doing this mostly for me, to sit down and force myself to read things and to critically analyze things. I haven't had to do that for a long time now. I have been out of school for a while. When I was getting my undergraduate degree, I did take creative writing classes. I did take some literature classes. My focus was in French. That's what my major was. That's what my degree's in. But I did take these other classes for fun. Basically, all of my extra classes I took were related to history and to writing and literature. So I really haven't done critical analysis or anything of fiction since undergraduate. And I finished undergraduate when I was 24, 25, something like that. But I want to do more of that. Now, that's not to say that I won't talk about things being bad. Even the things that we love have bad things about them. Nothing is perfect. And so I will talk about what I don't like about things that I do like. But it's just so much more exciting to talk about things that you like. You know, could I complain about things all day? Yes. But I don't like doing that. It makes me feel bad. It makes me feel tired. You know, it gives me energy talking about things that I like. So we're going to talk about things that I like. I'm going to review books that I like. There is a book series I'm planning on reviewing towards the beginning here that I like, that it exists. It's complicated, and it's a lot. You'll know when we get to it. But besides book reviews, I also want to talk about my current progress as a writer. So last year, I'm planning on making a podcast about this. In the year 2024, I read over 100 books. I think I read about 110 books. I know that a lot of people do that. I had a very specific reason for doing that because I wanted to look at how people handled the general way of describing scenes and people's actions and just general description of things, because I feel like I struggle a lot with it and I get very repetitive. And so I was looking specifically how people do characterization of people. I'm going to talk about this in another podcast. I'm not going to talk about it now. Never mind. I was doing extensive reading. I wanted to do extensive reading for a project. And then in 2025, I want to do more close readings. So my reading goal is going to be 25 books, which is still a lot. But that's because I'm going to read a book and probably some comic books at the same time, which I do count on my Goodreads. And so I will be doing more close reading in 2025. So I wanted to get more extensive, like diving into reading. And then now we're going to get closer reads for this next year. And we're going to be reading with the goals of improving my writing. And so we will talk about how I'm taking the things that I'm reading and applying them to things that I'm writing, how I'm looking at other people's style and the way that other people structure stories, and how I'm using that to influence my own writing. Maybe I'll read books about writing. Maybe, probably not, but maybe. If anyone has any really good ones I want to suggest. But yeah, I'm interested in talking about how the things that I'm reading are affecting the way that I create stories, how I'm breaking apart things, how I'm growing as both a reader and a writer, and talking about the techniques that I'm using as a reader and a writer. I don't know the names for a lot of these things, so I'll have to look into those and learn about that. But again, being forced to sit down and finally do this, I think will be helpful for me as both a writer and a reader, because when you have the vocabulary to talk about something, it makes it easier to not only understand, but to, talk about it and utilize it. In theory, I would also like to have a third type of podcast, which would be things like interviews with other authors, things like that. But I don't know if that will happen. We'll have to see. I do have a few people that I could talk to. I used to stream on Twitch, mostly games, but also sometimes coding and sometimes writing. I'm hoping to get back into that as well. And I'm going to be making a whole bunch of social media for my author stuff as well to try and get into the community there, but we'll see how that goes. I'm also trying to get myself off of social media, so making a bunch of writer social media. Not really helping with that goal for 2025 now, is it? But yeah, that's the basic gist of what I'm planning to do. I want to use this to force myself to sit down and do the work to get better. I'm currently writing a novel that I'm having a lot of trouble with. Maybe we'll have an episode about that coming up real soon. I want to get a lot of stuff out here in the beginning really fast. That way there are things there and ready. And then do maybe once a week or twice a month after that. But I'm thinking maybe one book review a month and one status update on what I'm doing a month. We'll see how it goes. We're gonna force myself to do this. We're gonna reread the same book multiple times. We're really gonna dig in as a reader, and we're going to talk about what we're doing as a writer, where we're stuck, where we're struggling, where we feel like we're doing really well. That's what we're gonna do. We're forcing ourselves to do it. That's why we're recording it, because then we have to think about it. We have to make sure we're doing the work. We can't just, do a couple hundred words a day and call it good. We have to actually think about those words. We can't half-ass it when we're critically talking about it. As of now, I don't have any music for this, but I am buying my husband a program, I forget what they're called, to make music. He wants to make music, so maybe we can get him to make us some theme music. But until he does that, until I can talk him into doing that, all you get is a goodbye. Goodbye.